Welcome once again to my kitchen here at Trails in 62. We're going to be doing some cooking today. I've got this recipe that I found and it looked pretty good, so I'm gonna be fixing this recipe. It's a let's see here. It's called a Bunt cake breakfast, and I found this online. And so basically what I'm doing here, I'm just cooking for one. I love to cook. I don't like cleaning up the mess, but I love to cook. But I still have to clean up the mess. But anyway, cooking for one or even two is a little different than cooking for a family. When you get 3, 4 people in a family, even 2 people in a family, it takes more to cook. And most recipes are generally at least 4 people, and most of them may be as many as 6 people, 4 to 6, 6 to 8. Those are some even many as 12, but generally 4 to 6 is probably the average recipe is geared towards that. Well, if you make enough for 4 to 6 people and you're only one person, that's a lot of leftovers. And I don't mind leftovers, but I just as soon not eat leftovers every day for a week. So what I try to do is I try to gear down these recipes for 1 and maybe 2. And this particular Bunt cake breakfast calls for making this in a regular size bundt cake. Well, I'm not going to do that because that's a big recipe. So I'm cutting it in half. It's still a pretty decent sized recipe, and I'm going to be making them in my mini bundt cakes. I've got 2 of these, and they're 6 little mini bundt cakes. This is what I do my zucchini breads in. 6 little mini bundt cakes per set. And so I'm going to do them in these, see how many it takes by cutting this in half. And so the ingredients that I give you are actually half the recipe. So if you're planning on making the whole thing in just a bundt pan for a family, you simply double the recipe, do it in a regular sized bundt pan. Okay? Now, I've got all my ingredients out here, and I'll show you what they are and tell you how much of each one I have. The recipe, of course, they say you can add different vegetables, you can add different meats. This is done with ham. I happen to have some diced ham in the freezer. It's sugar cured ham. It's good. I've already tasted some of it. So I'm going to use that. And I'll show you what we've got here and how this recipe works. And then we'll get started. Alright, as you can see, I have my ingredients out here. Now, first of all, the original recipe calls for a dozen eggs. And what I have here, these need to be whipped, and I'll whip these up, but we got 6 eggs in here. Got a little dab of milk in there. But 6 eggs. It calls for 1 can of Pillsbury Grand's biscuit diced up. I don't have Pillsbury Grand biscuits. So what I have here is I have 4 frozen biscuits. It's dough. They're fresh biscuits dough that's frozen. I thawed them out and I just diced them up here. That's 4 of them. And here we have a cup of tater tots, frozen. So we have 6 eggs whipped, 4 biscuits diced up, 1 cup of frozen tater tots. We have a half a cup of diced ham. We have 1 cup of cheese, shredded cheese. Now this happens to be a mixture of Monterey Jack and cheddar. You can use whatever kind of cheese you want. And here we have 1/8 of a cup of milk. And I'm adding this is not in the original recipe, but I like peppers, so I'm putting peppers in it. This is 1/4 of a cup of peppers. These were frozen. I thawed them a little bit in the microwave and put it on a towel to absorb the moisture out of them. So I'm adding 1/4 of a cup of peppers that's not in the original recipe, but I like peppers, so I'm putting them in. So the half recipe is 6 eggs whipped, 1 cup of frozen tater tots, 4 diced up biscuits, and this calls for Pillsbury Grand biscuits, or you can use whatever biscuits you want, I guess. That's what I'm doing. But 4 biscuits, 1 cup of shredded cheese, 1/8 a cup of milk. And basically that's what you need. So we're going to whisk the eggs, mix these all together, and then we'll put them in our bundt pans. Now the first thing I'm going to do is whisk my eggs. I like to use one of these handy dandy gadgets right here because I like my eggs whisked good, or you can do it by hand, however you want to do it. Once the eggs are whisked, we're going to add in our frozen tater tots, our diced ham, our cheese, the rest of our milk. I'm going to add in my 1/4 cup of diced peppers, and then I'm going to add in the biscuit dough. Now you got to kind of spread this out in here as you put it in because it does stick together. It is raw biscuit dough, and it is supposed to be diced. So I'm going to add this in a little at a time and stir it up as I add it in. After looking at the ingredients and how they're put together, I've decided to go ahead with a Bunt pan rather than my mini Bunt pans. There's no way those are going to work. So you take your Bunt pan, you have to have a coated, sprayed, greased Bunt pan. Okay, just want to make sure we set the record straight here. I said that these were my mini Bunt pans. These are not mini Bunt pans, these are individual Bunt pans. I'm just inserting this into the video because I did make a mistake. I know it's hard to believe. These are individual Bunt pans. What I put this in is this Bunt pan, which is a mini Bunt pan. This is not a regular full-size Bunt pan. I'm just making half of the recipe, remember, half of the recipe, and so instead of putting it in a full-size Bunt pan, I'm putting it in this is a mini Bunt pan. How do I know this is a mini Bunt pan? It says so right here on the bottom, mini Bunt pan. So this is a mini Bunt pan that I'm using, not these which I called mini Bunt pans, which are actually individual Bunt pans, okay? Alright, just so we're clear on that. And now, back to your regular scheduled video. Here I've got this all mixed up, and I'm going to pour it in the Bunt pan here. My oven is preheating at 400 degrees. And again, this is just a half a recipe here, so it won't, you know, probably won't fill up this entire Bunt pan when it's done, but it'll make a smaller amount. Alright, there we have it. We're going to heat this for about 45 minutes at 400 degrees. Now, this is just a half a Bunt pan, so this may not take quite 45 minutes. With timer. I'm going to set this for about 40 minutes and start there since it's a smaller batch. We'll be back when it's done and check on it. Okay, we're about ready to take it out of the oven. 40 minutes. There's the timer. Let's see what she looks like. Well, there it is. It sure looks good. This is a lot like tapas in Spain. Tapas are they're appetizers, snacks, that sort of thing. You used to find them all. There's 100 different kind of tapas. But there's one called a Spanish tortilla. Now, not to be confused with a Mexican tortilla. Spanish tortilla is made with eggs and potatoes, and it's made in a pan and flipped and that sort of thing. You cut it up like pies, segments, and then you serve it. It can be served cold, and it's basically the same thing. It's just this is made in a Bunt pan. So we'll see how this turns out. We'll turn it out of the Bunt pan and see what she looks like. Get my gloves on here. Don't want to burn my hands. And we'll take our plate. We're just going to put it right on top here. I'm using a paper plate because I don't like to do dishes. And we'll just turn it upside down. Oh wait, there it goes. Plopped right out of there. Oh, don't that look nice? And there you have it. Well, that's a half a recipe there. Oh man, that looks good. I'm gonna have to try some of that. Let's just slice it open here and see what she looks like. That's good and hot, that's for sure. So you need to make little cuts out of it. Look at that. Make little cuts out of it. There's the bread and the egg. That does taste good. We'll see what it's like later on. Yeah, definitely good. Alright, so there we have it. Our bundt cake breakfast turns out pretty good. Good and moist, kind of like cake in there, that dough. But done. And that's the main thing. So, yeah, I might could have gone another minute, wouldn't have hurt it. But it's nice and it's almost crunchy on the outside. But it tastes really good, so I'm going to enjoy that. And what I'll do is I'll cut these up into individual pieces, and I'll put them in containers after it cools, and put it in the refrigerator. Then when I'm hungry, I can just reach in there and grab one. Get all that on there. All right. So I'm going to get me a big old piece now. Sit down and have it for breakfast. We'll see you again later. From my house to yours. From my kitchen to your kitchen. God bless.